Well, good evening and welcome to Space Oddities. How is everybody out there in YouTube land? Hope you're all well.
Oh, we're lovely, thank you.
A live stream, and I'm joined by three of the usual suspects tonight. We've got Daz. How are you, Daz?
I'm lovely, thank you. I'm just rewiring everything
Can't
whilst
hear
we're
you,
going
Daz.
on.
You're muted.
So if I go up in a
We'll
puff
move
of
on to
smoke,
Michael. How are you, Michael?
Fine, thank you. Very well.
Good. Roger, how are you?
I'm all good.
Good. Excellent. Well, we're a bit thin on the ground tonight, but that don't stop us bringing you an action-packed program as always. Just before we start, we hope we won't get any teething problems tonight because we have a new version of our streaming software and we're not quite used to it yet because there have been quite a few changes. So if we have any technical glitches tonight, please bear with us and we will try and get them sorted as soon as possible. All being well, it should be okay.
that's what I was trying to rewire. Sorry, but I've pulled it out.
Oh no.
Yeah, I know. What can you do with it, mate? Anyway, we hope all our viewers out there have had a great week. Thank you so much for being with us. We'd like to offer our continued thanks to those of you who've been buying us coffees and making donations. Very, very kind of you. Gratefully appreciated. And of course, all of the money does go towards help keeping the channel running. So thank you very much for that. Just a usual promotional thing for the Space Oddities t-shirts. If you would like to buy Space Oddities merchandise, then you can. And it's amazing stuff. And if you scan this QR code, that will take you directly to the Space Oddities shop where you can buy t-shirts and hoodies. And just to go over it again, for those of you who might be new here, t-shirts are £20, including UK postage and packing. And the hoodies are £40, including UK postage and packing. Please add £10 to the total value of your order if you're outside the UK. We've got a couple of designs available, what we call the old design and our brand new summer collection design. So I hope you enjoy those. They are good quality garments. We've all bought them, and they're hard wearing. And mine's been through the wash a lot. You'll be glad to know, and it's still as new. So we would thoroughly recommend the quality of those. So that's the merchandise. We hope to bring you more items in the Space Oddities merchandise collection really soon. Of course, if you would like to support us, then you can do so in a number of ways. You can buy us a coffee, and you can scan the QR code here. If you would like to buy us a coffee, that will take you to the Buy Me a Coffee page where you can buy us coffee, basically, or the amount equivalent to coffees, because obviously we don't drink that much coffee. But if you would like to make a small contribution towards keeping the channel running, then you can by scanning this code. And also you can click the super chat option underneath in the chat window there. The super chat will promote your chat in glorious neon something to the top of the chat, and you get to make a donation at the same time. So we'd like to thank you, those of you who've been buying us super chats as well. As I said, everything goes towards keeping the channel running because we have bills to pay like every other channel does. Nothing is free, of course.
Yeah. And thank you, Gerard, for your generosity.
Yeah.
Thank you, Gerard.
Yeah, especially Gerard. Yes, we must mention Gerard. Thank you very much for your generosity, as always, Gerard. Now, tonight, we're going to talk mainly about an amazing event that, unless you've been living under a rock, you've probably heard about, the amazing Aurora of last Friday night that was seen around the world because the sun threw a bit of a wobbly and blasted us with a seemingly endless succession of high-energy particles, which resulted in visible aurorae around the globe at fairly northern latitudes. Here in Spain, where we're 41 degrees north, didn't get to see a thing, of course, even though the sky was clear. And so I'm very jealous of those of you who did manage to get pictures of aurorae. Thank you for sending in your pictures of the aurorae. By the way, we will be having a look at them in a little while in Roger's gallery. But it was quite an amazing night. So we thought what we'd do this evening is just find out exactly what happened. Why did people around the world see aurorae who normally don't get to see aurorae? and what do we know about it, and what's the forecast? Are we going to see any more in the near future? As you may know, we're approaching solar maximum, due end of this year, next year, I believe. And between now and then, anything could happen. But it was the biggest geomagnetic storm in the last 30 years. Nothing like that had ever been seen in 30 years, which is why we decided we'd have a closer look at it and explain exactly what went on Friday night. If you did get to see the Aurora, of course, not being able to see it here myself, I'm very jealous. I have never seen an Aurora in my life. And, time's getting on and I want to see one. But as long as I live here, I fear I never will, unless there's an absolutely gigantic solar storm. But if I should imagine if the solar storm is that gigantic, we've got more to worry about than me seeing it from Spain. Yes. As regards the effects of it, we have said in the past that the high energy particles from these solar storms can knock out satellite electronics and generally play hell with spacecraft, radio communication. The only real one that I saw that was the effect of Friday's storm, or Friday's when the storm arrived, I should say, was that there's a lot of agriculture in the United States these days that uses autonomous tractors that are positioning themselves with GPS, and quite a lot of those got affected by the solar storm and were wandering around in circles or whatever. So would have been fun to watch. However, we're going to let Daz talk to you about that because he's our local, our resident specialist in all things solar. But I'm sure Michael and Roger have got some things to say as well about it. So without further ado, I think the best thing to do is to go over to Roger with his presentation, as normal, about the night sky.
Thank you very much for that intro. So here we go for the 14th to the 20th of May. Well, going on, and obviously with we've got the moon getting higher up in the night sky and being rather clear. This is one of the days leading up to this was the day of the event, the 10th, and just gives you an idea. This image being an inverted hydrogen alpha image where you can see the culprit group 3664 there in the right, just down below there, with some prominences over onto the side there. And there was some quite interesting prominences all the way around the disk actually, so it's still ongoing. I've just got a sequence here of the traversing spots around the disk for the 6th, 7th, 9th and the 12th, obviously the 10th being the day of the event. But as you can see, we've almost now completely lost 3664 now. It's right on the edge now as it was today, but that was the progenitor of the effects that we've recently seen. Here's some closer up views that I've done, which shows you how active that group and the prominences that were available in the profile of the solar disk, which quite entertaining and quite fascinating to watch. Fantastic. Okay. Yes.
Well, sorry, just a quick question. Right. Was this 3664? Was this the one that had been around the sun once?
No, this one's. I'm not sure about this one. 663, which was in the northern hemisphere, had been around. It'd been around. That was the third time round for it, and of course that disappeared off the. Let me get this, western limb. About Wednesday-ish. This is 664. I've got a funny feeling that this is its second time round.
Right.
But if you what we'll do is we'll have a little bit of a chat with it in a little while. I don't want to give away too much of the fun and games. Fine. But yeah, I think it's been around at least once more, and it's grown since it's been on. It was actually 2 sunspots when it first came on the eastern limb, but they've merged, and this is it's 3664 3668 and 3664. They actually merged together, so it's
Right.
got even bigger.
Right.
So yeah,
And just to remind you, viewers, what you're looking at in terms of scale, this is a sunspot that's many, many times wider than the Earth.
yeah.
It's an
Yeah.
absolutely
I think
huge-
somebody said it was about 15 Earth widths across
something
Yeah.
like
from
that.
one
Yeah,
side to the other.
yeah, 15 times the width of the Earth. There you go.
Mm.
You just can't comprehend it, can you?
And encompassed
No.
in that spot there, although it looks quite messy, there were mega loads of sunspots there. You'll be surprised how many different sunspots are in there. But we'll have a bit of a
Yeah, we'll
chat
talk
later.
about that later. Okay. Sorry, Roger.
Okay,
Carry on.
that's all right. So we're going from first quarter today to obviously getting up to near full moon again later in another week. So things will brighten up in the night sky. So should any aurora appear, we'll be getting the bad influence of all that moonlight dispersing the light from the aurora. But through the week, we haven't got any planets to see as such through the night time, so we just have to admire the galaxies in Leo and Virgo and watch the summer triangle appear over on the eastern horizon.
Yeah.
Okay. But obviously, later in the month, we will be getting the planets visible. This is in the morning. We've got Saturn, Mars, Mercury, Venus, and Uranus in the preceding sunrise lights, and then we've got Jupiter up behind. But as the week progresses, things start to change position. So we've got getting Jupiter ahead and Venus getting close to a conjunction there. But obviously, with the sun up in the daytime, we can not see any of that really at all because they're just too bright, unfortunately. But
Yeah.
that will all change later in the autumn. So we've still got Comet Obers coming through the constellations here. Obviously, with it being in the constellations that it's in at the moment, just north of Gemini, we've going to struggle a bit with the light skies in the evening when this is up. But it is still brightening up a bit, but not as much. But it is progressing between. I mean, it's going from 7 down to 5.7. So it is still brightening up, and it'll be obviously better for the southern hemisphere to get the brighter views of that. But we've got Sutherns and Atlas, which is still in Virgo at the moment, and that's still gradually brightening up. It will be a lot brighter later in the year, but the opportunity is still there should you wish to traverse its trajectory through the galaxies that we have in the constellation there. Still not that bright, but it's down below 9, just about, to see. So any photographs will get it, and it is gradually getting more of a tail now. So by the time it gets to about September, it might be a bit more obvious what we're looking at with the naked eye, because it could be down to about a magnitude 1. You
Really?
just don't know.
A 1?
Yep, a 1.
God.
But the forecasts have been known to get it wrong if it survives the journey inwards. But I don't know if this is what you've got, Andy. This is what we've got from.
Yeah, it is. Thanks for showing this the light curve.
Yeah, it's quite an interesting.
This is quite an important discovery. I'll talk more about this later, anyway.
All right, so I'll move on and let you get on, because we've got a gallery which we will discuss later on with the results of the viewers' images. Is that what we're doing?
Absolutely, a bit later, yes.
All right, so we'll keep the gallery for later when we've got an Aurora special. Although there are some other objects in there,
I'm sure
they are mostly the Aurora images, which are absolutely amazing.
Great. All right, thank you very much for that, Roger. We will
Yeah, cheers, Rog.
turn to the gallery a little later. We thought the best thing to do would be to let Daz loose on you, and like the caged tiger he is. And Daz is just bursting at the seams to tell you all about the space weather. So, Daz, take it away.
Yeah, just before I actually start, I see there's some questions in the chat.
Oh, yes, the
It says, what does he say? He says, I think it gave a huge flare off today, didn't it? Though not Earth directed, as on the limb now. Now, there was an X flare first thing this morning, but it wasn't that big. But I've just noticed Kev has come on and he has said, yeah, there was a huge flare a while ago. Not sure which active region it was, though. And of course, you'll see why. I mean, I could go and have a look in a second.
8.8.
And 8.8, which is the biggest for a long time. Now, if that is Earth directed, because it's on one of the new uh, active areas, then it'll be interesting. The only thing, well, I'll get on with the.
Could you confirm whether that's from 8664 on the limb or whether it's from another area?
What I'll do is I'll do the report and then I'll go and have a look myself as well to see if I can find out what's just done it. So right, okay then. If right now then to do this, I've got to go here. Right, can everyone see that?
We can see that. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, can you see my cursor?
Yes.
Good. Right, all I can say about last week's weather is wow. I could spend all week here just chatting about everything that's happened. Just going to get me paperwork. There you go. Thank you. And I'll talk about everything that's happened. It was an almighty big week. As I said, lots happened. But what I'll do is I'll just get straight into what we're actually up to. Oh, right. Okay. Then. So, all right. As you can see on the left, that was last week's sun with the active regions on there. And there was, what was it? 1, 2, 3, 4. There was 9 altogether active regions still showing on there. Now, as we're talking about AR3663, that's the third time it's been around. Now, towards the end, it started to fire off some big flares. At the beginning of the week, it was the big player. And what it was firing off some X flares off towards sort of like the west there, the northwest. But some of them were sort of like directed at us, towards us, and I'll talk about that a little while ago. You say, well, how can it be going northwest and it's still going to hit us? I'll explain a little bit in a while. But as you can see, it's heading towards the west limb, soon to disappear. It disappeared about Monday, Tuesday. Around the other side of the limb, but it wasn't finished then. We could still see it firing off when it went just beyond the limb, so we couldn't actually see the active region, but we could see what it was still up to. When sort of like about the same time, AR, what did I say? No, this was this went off the limb about Thursday or Friday, if I remember right. Now, AR3664 then became the main player for the rest of the week. Now, it seemed very strange that all this on the eastern side, on the eastern hemisphere, is all fairly, it's all nice, and it's all, we'll have a better look at this all later. I'll look over on this side, actually, because this is the sun today, and there are actually 13 numbered active regions on there now. But the thing is, I'll tell you now, there are more, and they are numbered, but they've only sort of like put the big ones up, or else the whole thing would be quite full. So, as I said, if we go back to the left-hand side, AR3664 is in the eye. They would seem to be from where it goes north to south, literally almost down the center, is something what they call a hot longitude. And it seems that these on the left-hand side will travel slowly towards the center. As soon as they hit this mark, there's something going on underneath the surface that starts these things firing off. Now, hot longitudes aren't anything new. They can appear anywhere on the sun. They could be down here or somewhere, so that when the regions reach here, they'll start to really kick off because there's something going on over the surface. So this became the big main player halfway through the week. And since then, it's gone absolute mayhem. So let me just run through this a bit. What I will do is I'll get this up and running, and I'll run through the information as we go. Right now, this is 100. This is a week in 100 seconds on the sun. As you can see, you've got the two bright spots there. Up in the top right, it's 3663, and the one right in the middle is 3664. Now, if you watch this to begin with, now I know you've got to watch it. I'm asking you to watch a lot because it's spread out. Is that if I start it, if you watch, most of the it starts actually up on the top right hand corner with 3663. And then later on, that seems to calm down. And look, it's all starting to kick off on 3664 in the middle there. Now, this was also carried by coronal holes. We did have coronal holes far enough. And you can see all these flares going off. You can see ejector flying off in left, right, and center. And as I said, this is 100 seconds, but this is a whole week on the sun. This whole rotation, half rotation, of course. So you can see everything's 664 is on 3664 is on its way to the southern limb, but you've got all this stuff coming in on the eastern limb here, and you can see there's something here because look at all that action that's happening behind. You can see plasma arches flying over, all the magnetic arches. So we already were seeing that there's something big coming around this side. Now, if you remember 2 weeks ago, we had a sun that was literally covered in sunspots and active regions. This is that stuff coming back. And as you can see, it's firing off flares and everything before it's even come into sight. And you can see a lot of reconnection going on of the magnetic lines and things like that. And they are associated with CMEs. And you can see 3664 still firing off as it's heading towards the eastern limb. Now, right at the very end, I think the flare that Lee was talking about will go off right at the very end. I think we've just missed it, actually. Sorry. So if I just bring it back a little bit, see if we can get that going again. It's one of these that'll only play once. Oh, here we go. So if I bring it up here, so we can just quickly see that. So here we go. If you watch that, there's a sudden flare. I think I've missed it again when you go back far enough. But that happens early this morning. Now, there may have been a second flare, an 8.8, but until I've actually checked that, I can't sort of confirm that. So that was that is in in the wavelength of 304. Whatchamacallit? 7 newtons in it or something. Right, now we're going to have a look at it in a different wavelength, 171 wavelength. And this time you can see all the magnetic arches and lines all linking all the holes and everything again. But again, you'll see the flares going off. You'll see some of the stuff lifting off as well. So here we go. Again, this is 100 seconds. I do apologize, but you can see everything's active all week. And then you've got all this stuff that's coming in from on the eastern limb. And if you look at it, AR 3664, and next to it is AR 3668. These two actually merged in the end, making it even bigger. They're literally connected all over the place. And it's because of this merging, you see the flares going off. You can actually see the action happening. And as you look, 3668 has disappeared now. It's just an AR 3664. So they actually merged. And you can see flares coming from spots that aren't numbered, actually flowing material and magnetic lines into that area. But again, look at the eastern limb. Look at all this stuff coming around, and look at those gorgeous loops. It's absolutely fantastic. And of course, we're only halfway through. So we were looking at this stuff on the eastern limb way before it actually came into sight. We've got this stuff all happening at the top, these active regions, but they don't seem to be doing much at the moment. So we're just sort of like bare our times, because once these things, if they do kick off, then we'll, it'll be mayhem, especially with look at all this stuff coming around, and you can see all this magnetic activity going on or surrounding all these regions. At the moment, we have no magnetic, we have no corona holes with us, so we just have to think. Well, I'll just go through the coronagraph just to show you. Now, most of these big flares, they created what we call full 360 halos, and that's how we know that they were coming towards Earth. Now, what I'll do is I'll try and catch one of these halos, one of the better ones. They started around about the night. There's one just gone off now. If you can see, this is with the area, so this is probably 3664 kicking off. But if you notice, when it puffed off, I've gone a little bit too far. Can you see all this faint stuff all around here? That is ejector that's been pushed off of the sun's surface by a shock wave that's actually travelled around the whole of the sun. Now, if it's travelled all the way to the whole of the sun and it's throwing stuff off, that means we're going to get a chunk of that. We're not going to get the main course, which is going off to the southwest, but that means there is something coming off, and we're going to get a chunk of it. I would just start this again. Now, see how many you can actually count. You've got to look really carefully and see how many halos you can actually see. If I can get it started. There it goes. So there goes one. There goes another one. All that stuff around the side coming off, so we know that's coming towards us. In the end, there was about 6 or 7 of these all coming towards us, all in one go. You can see there's some even that are so faint you can hardly see them, but there is actually a 360 halo there. Now, these halos can also be sort of like 180, but they will still sometimes throw stuff towards us. So again, there's one going off to the northwest, east, and it's also now all this snow. That is radioactive particles, high energy particles hitting the sensors. And I don't know if you've noticed these UFOs coming in. They're going to come in, they're going to come into the sun and refuel. Remember, we were talking about that a couple of weeks ago. Some people seem to think that the UFOs use the sun for refueling, but that's actually planets. So again, you can see all this action going on, and this is all adding towards what has been going on. Now, when the main action happened, we had coronal holes actually in the middle. And I think right at the very end here, you'll catch what Kev was on about. I think that's it there, just gone off on just almost on the equator, just below the equator on the east side. I think that's the one that Kev was on about. No, Lee was on about, but there could have been a bigger one since then. So, as I said, there's so much gone on. This has all been driven by, as I said, coronal holes. And it's been these were the coronal holes for the week. I may just flick through this one very quickly because I know these can get boring. But as you can see, these coronal holes come and go. You can see the area 3664 there. And then when it start to get active, this coronal hole and these here are very, very close to it. So anything that comes off of there is going to get caught by that wind and thrown towards us, pushed along at a higher rate. But also these coronal holes, before all this started kicking off, was clearing all the crud out of the way. All the previous stuff that happened was being blown towards us and pushed away. So it gave a free run for these big expulsions, these CMEs and these flares to actually take a good run at us. And the later flares, the bigger flares, were coming towards us so fast that they were collecting all the solar flares that happened before them. And of course, we've said before, you got your magnetic flux ropes in all these events, and they do not. I've heard the words cannibalized, where they all merge together and things like that. They don't merge together. They buffer up to each other because the magnetic ropes do not want to be really anywhere near each other. But of course, they've pushed themselves up. They've squashed themselves together, and when they hit with a big force. So this is what's given us all this this what happened on Friday night, Saturday night. It was predicted by Noah that this would be coming. Don't want to start that again. Sorry. So now, as I said, we were watching already halfway through the week what was happening on the far side, what was coming round. And I just wanted to put this up. This is only a short one, but look at all those lovely loops, all those magnetic fields. And then all of a sudden you'll see it go bang, and then there'll be a flare. So we knew that all this was on its way around. This is. I don't think this had a number at the time. This was actually unnumbered, and there goes the eruption. But you can see all this reconnection going on. So we knew something's big coming around the corner there. So I just thought you'd like to see that. Right, next. Right, this is what happened on the 10th and the 11th of May. This is from Aurora Watch UK, and this was the alerts. As you can see, it started about 7 o'clock on Friday night. So, of course, it was daytime, and everybody was, oh, no, it's too early. But nobody was expecting to what actually happened to happen. And as it says, it reached G5, which is solar storm levels, which is extreme. So we did get, and this is why we were able to see the Aurora so low down. And of course, with the cameras see a hell of a lot more these days than what we do. So it's, I mean, if we get some bigger storms, Andy, possibly if you just point your camera, your phone north, and then take an image, you may be able to catch a green tint. I know it's not like green or pink tint above the Pyrenees, wouldn't it be the Pyrenees by you?
Yeah.
So so this is what we had. This is virtually 24 hours of non-stop big storms. So it carried, and it also carried on afterwards. And we also had another storm kick off the night after, but of course I was clouded out. It died quite a way down, but it didn't go back into the green. It stayed mostly orange, a bit of yellow, then it climbed back up and went back into the red for a short while. Now the predictions have been extended to, well, basically tonight, into the 14th and the 15th. What's happened just recently, they say, could produce Aurora in the next 12 hours, 24 hours. So don't be disheartened if you didn't see them. If you've got clear skies, just have a look, and hopefully, if everything's correct, if the magnetic configuration in the storm's correct, then you will get a more Aurora again. So I think that's. I think I can't go much further because we'll be going into the next thing. Oh, this is just a picture of the sun today with all the magnetic lines linking each of those holes, and also all the holes things. So I'll just leave you with that for the moment.
Great, thank you very much for that, Daz. Wonderful, indeed. So it was quite an historic night, or at least the most historic night in the last 30 years. And I think so many people were shocked at how bright the Aurora were, and also, of course, the colours in the Aurora, those lovely purples and pinks that we don't see too often. And if it made people get a little bit interested in the sun and astronomy in general, then that's fantastic. Because as you've probably seen, social media has been absolutely full of everybody sending in their photos.
Yeah.
And indeed, we ended up with a lot of them here at Space Oddities. So thank you for everybody who sent in their Aurora photographs. They're absolutely amazing. And we thank you very much. Ian says, "What did ancient man make of Aurora?" A good question. It was something else in the sky that they couldn't explain.
Oh, something I didn't mention, Andy, but you touched on was that all of these flares. Yes, we love to see the geomagnetic storms come and hit us and give us lovely auroras. But at the time, as I've said before, and I've just asked people to go back in the past and watch the shows that I've produced before, is that all these flares produce radio disruption.
Yeah.
Most of them will be only R1, but as they creeps up, you get more and more frequencies that are blacked out. And you can go on something like the Earth Today or something like that, or the Earth, the Sun in Time. Sorry, the Sun in Time, and it will show you where the blackouts happened. Now, if they happen, no matter where they happen, they're going to cause some disruption. And of course, the first to realise it are amateur radio operators. But as it expands, that then starts to affect emergency services. And if it gets more and more, then, as you said, it interferes with the GPS, and you get your tractors going around in circles.
It predominantly, at least initially, affects shortwave radio, doesn't it?
Yeah, shortwave radio, and as you go up, you end up in the longer wavelengths.
Yeah.
And with the real bad storms, it will take all the radio frequencies out, and that's when we have trouble communicating with satellites and things like that. And like I say, once you lose GPS, and what's actually happening is it's our Earth, the magnetosphere that's protecting us, is jiggling. It's being shaken. It's being buffeted.
Yeah.
And of course, that messes with the location on the GPS, and it moves you around on the map. Yeah. It'll only be a few miles possibly, but it's enough to basically ruin your ruin your actual location. So as you said, Andy, and once it gets up to that really high levels, that's when we've got to consider about, and of course, when I talk about drones again, they work using GPS, but they're used by emergency services and who go off to disaster zones. And if they can't fly them, they're useless. There's nothing that they can do. So there is problems, but we'll talk about a little bit more about that in a while.
Okay, thank you, Daz. Can we just say a big thank you to Gazakroy for your generosity?
Thank you, Gaz.
We got a super chat of £5 from Gazakroy. Thank you so much for your generosity. Much appreciated. You're very kind. Now, moving on, we go back to Roger, and let's see the photographs that people have been sending us in. Roger, let's have a look.
Okay, and here we go. First of all, we've got Graham with a picture of the moon with the sea star, as you do, and nice thin moon there. Yeah, very nice,
lovely.
Very good. And we got a few from Jerry, although it's from his son Chris, who's been doing some iPhone 12 images of the Aurora,
following in his dad's footsteps.
Look at that! Wow.
Do we know where these were taken? Did it say?
There might be some information I've got here with some of his other images, because there were Cambridge,
right? Okay, they're lovely.
Okay.
See, that's quite low down.
Wow.
Oh, look at the colours in there.
Yeah, you've got most of the colours there.
Yeah.
Very nice. We might be able to recognise the constellation if we knew which way it was pointing, but
I think that's
still very good.
That was the Big Dipper right at the top in the middle.
Yeah. So, and another one.
Whoa! Look at the curtains. That's lovely.
Yeah, very good.
Fantastic.
Very nice. Very nice. And I think this is the last one from Jerry.
Over Cambridge.
Look at that.
Oh, look at that. It's like a searchlight, isn't it?
It's like a Close Encounters job.
Well, I was just going to say, the chances of anything coming from Mars were 1,000,000 against.
It's still okay.
It's still they
Mm.
came, yeah.
Yeah.
But you've got the green and you've got
Yeah.
the pink, but you've also got on the other side the purples, and I'll be showing you a infogram in a little while.
Okay.
All right. Okay. Amazing. So we got Lee as well, who
Back
did
at
a
the
Milky
same
Way arch panorama of 10 panels, each consisting of 15 30-second images and stitched together, drawing astronomical twilight. And here we go.
Oh, wow.
Beautiful.
Isn't that
Well
beautiful?
done, Lee.
Mm.
Well done,
That's
Lee. That's fantastic.
And I can see the Andromeda Galaxy there as well, hovering above the trees
I
over
see
on
it.
the left-hand side.
Oh,
I
yes.
see it.
Yeah.
Yes,
Oh,
I see
yeah.
it.
That's
Yeah, I
Yeah.
love the way it arcs into the fog. That's that's beautiful.
Yeah.
And
That's
also you've got the double.
That's the
double-
quarry.
Yeah. You've also got the double cluster of Pegasus there as well, haven't you?
Yeah.
Mm.
That's one astrophoto I've always wanted to do.
Yeah, that's fantastic, Lee. That
Yeah.
is.
Well done, Lee.
Very
Yeah.
good, Lee. Well done. There we go. And one of Lee with the Aurora on Friday.
You're right, Lee. We were
Okay.
inundated.
Whoa.
Wow.
And that's Cornwall.
With the setting moon.
And
Yeah.
that's Cornwall.
And that is Cornwall. That is that far down.
Unbelievable. A
So
lovely touch with the moon there as well.
yeah, yeah.
Mm. Gone into
Wow,
the
Lee,
greenery there.
Beautiful.
You can see it's a crescent moon as well. Mine got blown out a little bit.
Yeah.
I had a bit of haze.
Yeah, very good. Okay. Now we've got some of the sun from Kevin with
Oh.
his with some of the equipment. Well, it's a wide angle one. And here we go. Look at that.
That's
Practically unedited. Almost straight out the camera, that is.
Yeah,
Oh,
and that just goes to show how fantastic it was. The
Mm.
show was.
Yeah. Very good. Awesome. And Graham's image of the moon with the sea star, which was taken on the 12th.
oh,
Look at that.
yeah.
amazing.
Very good.
That sea
Not
star is such a fantastic instrument, isn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Well, mind you,
where's Lou to wind him up?
Yeah, exactly. This is not to take anything away from the photographer, of course.
no,
Of course not. No,
No.
very good. Most impressive.
it's another tool in the box, isn't it?
And here is the offending 3664.
Ah,
Yes, look at it.
wow.
Mm.
Oh,
Ooh.
That
Very
looks-
swirly.
Violent, doesn't it?
It is. I mean,
Very.
when you see it in sort of like, I can't remember what frequency it was, nanoteslas, it really does look angry.
Yeah,
It really does.
That's
especially
an
if you
angry
put-
sun.
Yeah.
Mm. Okay, so we've got some from Sonia over Stockport. And
Wow. Look at that.
Look at the colours in there.
It's very Doctor Who, isn't it?
Mm.
very.
It's the end of the world as we know.
And some from myself here.
Right. Oh,
Oh, look at the colours in there.
look at that.
Mm. It was awesome.
Yeah. But the thing is, it was, I mean, I don't know if you found, Rog, I mean, when I was out there, is it sort of came and went as each new, as I said, all these solar storms all banked up on each other. They were like bumper cars all pushing each other.
Yeah.
And literally 1 minute it's sort of like you could see in the camera or in the phone or whatever you're using, it was dropping. Then all of a sudden up it'll come again. And like you say, these colours are fantastic.
Yeah, they were just like searchlights in the night sky. You just have to just look around because it was absolutely everywhere.
So speaking as somebody who's never actually seen an aurora, do you get a feeling of motion by just watching it? I mean, does it
Yes.
physically move? Yeah.
You can see it physically moving about. Yes.
Yeah.
so was it that bright tonight? No, Roger.
Yeah. But I mean, the strength of it was so strong, you could see the colour.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely, no problem
You
at all.
could see the colour with the. I had, as I said, a hazy cloud cloud layer that
Yeah.
I was looking through, which did hinder my visual side. But you could also see, if I looked straight up, you could see it looked like white, wispy, straight lines,
Yeah.
sort of like as if somebody had taken a rake and just reeked over something,
Mm.
or a comb even, because it would be tongs would be closer together, and
Yeah.
it was, you could see it above you. And some
Yeah.
people did actually say they were looking north, but they couldn't see anything
Mm.
until they turned around and they started
Yeah.
looking south and west. And the reason that was is because it had gone so low, it had gone past us. And when you, what you had to do was turn yourself round, and
Mm.
it was behind you,
That's what
because it's
happened
like
to
a
me.
big halo. It's like a big
Yeah.
halo, and it pushes
Yeah.
down. And
That's,
of course, so with us, a lot of it had gone behind us. So
yeah.
it's and that's why people said we couldn't see anything really looking north until we turned round.
That's what happened
Um,
to me. Dad said, looking north, couldn't see anything. And
yeah,
I could only just about see it when I turned round. And I think that was partly because of my eyes, because I'm actually visually colourblind in red and green, so that doesn't help. And I only picked it up when I actually used my phone to take a photograph of it. So,
yeah.
yeah.
I mean, your phone, and this is why Aurora are being reported further and further south.
Yeah.
Because the phones are so sensitive
Yeah, that's right.
in them. So they're picking up the colors, they're doing everything. I did quite a few time lapse things, and I stitched them together and made gifs of them, and you could actually see everything moving. But mine, unfortunately, because of the conditions I was looking at, mine was a bit like the one on the right, probably not as bright, because, like I said, I was looking through this cloud layer, but you could still see it, and you could still see it even without looking through the thing. But of course, with people being able to photograph it further and further south,
Yeah.
more and more people are actually getting a chance to see this. Now, you imagine when you've had a big storm that it's gone really, really so far south, down into sort of like into the lower Americas, or down into Spain, possibly, Andy.
Oh.
That you will actually see then the aurora with a camera at the equator.
All right.
So you probably won't be able to see it by eye. You don't know. You might be able to see a tinge, but you'll probably find if somebody was stood on the equator and took a photograph, you probably, and if it was on the equator, you could look all around you because it'll be coming up from the south as well. So there's a good chance you could catch 360 aurora. So
can I just say as well, I remember the auroral display of March '89. I was in Yorkshire at the time, and the display was absolutely amazing. And of course, and it was, if I remember right, it was like these photos you got on the screen now. And I was just wondering, we didn't have digital cameras back then. I wonder what that display would have looked like if we had the same sort of equipment, you know. So back in '89.
yeah, it's just one of the technology has been able to help us to see this far more now. So
right.
lovely pictures. Thank you everyone for sending those.
Right.
Gorgeous.
And for the final image, now for something completely different. M13 by me.
Oh, I love this. I love this.
Yeah.
Of course, this is the one that we've actually set the Arecibo messages on its way to.
Okay.
So yeah, it's
Very quiet then.
it's well, let's put it this way, it's not even got there. It's probably not even half. It's probably not even halfway there yet.
Yeah.
It's a very long around trip, and of course, when they phone back, Arecibo's not there now, so
True.
No.
no one to answer. They'll just
By
get.
the way, Ian's got a question about the aurora. Are you seeing the same thing if you go south by 100 miles, or is it a different show? Anybody want to answer that one?
It would be well. It'd be the same aurora, but you would see it as a different what's actually happening above you there, rather than what's actually above you if you're 100 miles either way. So yes, it's the same aurora, but it won't be the same a bit. It'll be what's actually happening in the atmosphere directly above you. So yeah.
Okay. Right.
Wow.
Well, thank you very much for that. Very interesting. Thank you all for those amazing images. Just because the Aurora's gone doesn't mean we don't want to see more photos. So if you've got any more photos of the Aurora you'd love to share with us, mail them as with all your images to spaceodditieslive@gmail.com. That's spaceodditieslive@gmail.com. And if you could put the word gallery somewhere in the title of your email, that will automatically get picked up and filed in the appropriate place for Roger's perusal.
Yeah, I've got over 500, so that could go for months.
I must have had something like nearly 200. But the thing is also, if you've got a sequence and it's been, you've done a time lapse, taking photograph, just turn them into a GIF, and you will see the movement. I did that. I just took them straight off the phone. I did no messing about, tinkering in Photoshop or anything like that. And I just created GIFs, and you could actually see the colors and the curtains moving. It's so simple to do.
And if anybody does want to do that, Daz, what software did you use to create the GIF?
I just used what was on the phone, on the Android.
Oh,
yeah. Because you go in there and you click on the little buttons and all that, and it says create a GIF of if you've done a burst, as they call it, of shots. They'll come up with 24, and then if you go up in the top corner, it says create a GIF, and you can just create a GIF, and there it is. Does it all for you, and that's actually on the phone. I think you can also do it on. I'm on Windows 10. So there's a thing you can do on there where you can create a time lapse, and it'll just create a GIF, and you can actually see them, the whole thing moving.
I think Roger could have his own show.
I could.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Anyway,
he's under contract here, unfortunately. We're not ready to let him go yet. There's still life in the old dog yet. So there you are.
The old sea dog.
Less of the dog.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on. So don't forget, if you want to email us any of your images, not necessarily the Aurora, anything you'd like to share with us, just the address again, spaceodditieslive@gmail.com. And thank you so much for your interest. Now, moving on, the news. It's been a bit of a slow news week. I've only got a couple of items this week. And just give me a second to sort myself out, and I will we'll go through it. So there's been quite an interesting discovery about an exoplanet, and let's have a look at this. So this exoplanet is the first exoplanet ever discovered. Let's put it in some different context. So this is a rocky exoplanet, about 4 times the size of the Earth, and it has an atmosphere that is carbon rich. But it's even more amazing when you consider where it is. So this is exoplanet 55 Cancri E. It's, as I said, about 4 times bigger than the Earth. It's 40 light years away. Its orbit's less than 2 million miles from the surface of its star. So obviously it is incredibly close. And because it's that close, it must have, it is believed, a surface of pure molten magma. Now, the surface temperatures, if you do the maths, should be around 2,200 degrees C, but JWST measurements with NearCam have put it only at 1,537 degrees C. So what's going on? It's thought that there are atmospheric currents that are transferring the heat from the day side to the night side, and thus lowering the temperature of the day side. And this does indicate a global atmosphere that's probably created by volcanic eruptions, which is then blown away by the solar wind and then replenished by more volcanic eruptions. But the great discovery from the JWST is that the atmosphere is largely either carbon monoxide or carbon dioxide. It's not certain at the moment. More observations are planned. But it's the first carbon atmosphere ever detected of a rocky exoplanet. Now, for a few decades now, astronomers have been wondering whether planets that orbit that close to their star, in this case less than 2 million miles, could possibly hang on to an atmosphere. And this has answered the question. Yes, they can, But in this case, it's a periodic thing, a cyclic thing, where, as I said, the atmosphere is created by volcanic eruptions, blown away, and then replenished again. So really interesting discovery of this, and it's helped to answer a lot of questions. And it just goes to show what a wonderful, wonderful universe we live in, and what wonderful discoveries we're making now. So that was the first story. The second story, just very briefly, you may remember last week I reported on the Chang'e 6 Chinese mission to the far side of the moon to collect samples, just to let you know that it's gone safely into lunar orbit. We don't know when the landing is going to be, because the Chinese really don't give that information away until either it's about to happen or it has happened. But if we have an update on it, if we can cover this landing live, if it's broadcast live by the Chinese, of course, then we will. But we'll certainly keep you posted on the mission. Now, so that was the two news stories. But there is something else. SpaceX have released the video of their new suit for EVA. That's spacewalks for you and me, extravehicular activity. And this will be used for the first time on the upcoming Polaris Dawn mission in the summer, a commercial flight captained again by Jared Isaacman, who you may remember has captained two previous commercial space flights. This will be the first commercial spacewalk not carried out by anybody from a space agency. They are attempting a number of things on the Polaris Dawn mission to achieve the highest orbit of any spacecraft around the Earth. And they're going to be doing lots of medical research, which we'll bring you news of this in a bit more detail, probably nearer the launch, scheduled for this summer. But let's have a look at SpaceX's new suit. Now, as you're watching this, just remember what these spacesuits were like in the 1960s for people to go outside spacecraft, and you'll see the difference.
Suit flow initiated. Stand by for Dragon venting sequence. SpaceX is go for EVA operations.
So what do we think of that, guys?
Oh, that's stunning. I mean, you said in the 60s, just think about it on the International Space Station today when they have to go out and do stuff.
Yeah,
They got to carry their life support system on their back.
Yeah. As Ian says, it is very much like a Formula One suit.
Formula One suit, yeah. They are tethered. All the oxygen and everything is actually passed to them. It's like a deep sea diver. It's passed down the line to them. Now, just a couple of other little things that we couldn't actually see there. As you notice, there's a camera actually on the helmet, so we'll be able to see exactly what the chaps are looking at, chaps and chapasses are looking at. Also, of course, did you see any knobs? Did you see any controls? Did you see anything? No, because it's all screen up on the visor. All their information will be projected onto the visor.
Yeah.
So they'll be able to see it without. There's nothing for them really to control. But you've also got to remember is that when they actually leave the capsule, everyone will be exposed to space. So they will all be wearing these suits.
Yes.
Because there's no launch, obviously. Not launch suits. The launch suits are completely different. But all four of them in the capsule will have to wear these suits, and because they'll be exposed to space themselves.
And is that right that they're going to exit via the forward hatch rather than the side hatch?
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right. They're going out of the nose of it. So
Yeah, where they had the big glass dome thing.
Yes.
They're coming
Yeah.
out through there. Yeah.
yeah. So
So they will all be.
But don't forget that they'll be raising a lot of money as a byproduct of this flight.
Mm.
As with the previous two missions captained by Jarek Eisenman, all of the money is going to the St. Jude's Children's Hospital, Children's Cancer Hospital, a world famous cancer hospital in the US. And so far, they've raised millions and millions for that children's cancer hospital. So, those people who say that space travel is a waste of money, well, look what you can do when you work together, raise millions for good causes. So, yes,
Yeah.
a good question. In 2084, they may well be in Lycra, and so God, I hope not. They look like cyclists. So
Yeah.
God no.
Yeah, and it's always the tubby ones you see walking around, isn't it? The
Yeah,
ones with the
that's
big
right.
beer belly.
That's right.
And
And Ian says naked spacewalks in 2130. Maybe.
oh,
Or is that a fantasy of yours, Ian? I don't know.
yeah.
We won't ask, really.
We won't mention that.
Yeah.
It's something to really look forward to, because this will be a massive step forward.
Yeah.
And we hope everything will be fine. But this is another feather in the cap for private industry.
Absolutely.
And
for children's cancer.
And for children, yeah, exactly.
So that was the news. Nothing to as I said, a bit of a slow news week. Not many outstanding things in the news this week. There's always news, of course. There's an interesting week this week. This week is NASA's Black Hole Week. So they want to tell people all about black holes. There have been a few interesting discoveries about black holes in the early universe recently, which I will bring you next week when I've had a chance to put it together. So every week in astronomy, something new, something different, some new discovery. So there we are. Just to let you know, we mentioned SpaceX, of course, because the crew will be flying on the Polaris Dawn mission on the SpaceX Dragon. And talking of SpaceX, the Starship IFT-4 is going to happen now. It looks like maybe last week of May, first week of June. They say that Elon Musk says they've got a few weeks' work yet before the launch, but preparations are coming on really well. And we hope that we can bring you the launch live as we normally do. So there we are.
Yeah, because when we finished last week, we were just going to watch the SpaceX engine test. Of course, it didn't happen.
No.
Due to technical problems, but it happened the next day, which I watched.
Yes.
But also, they had a test of which one was it, Andy?
S-31, Starship 31.
They did a test. Was it yesterday or the day before?
Yeah.
They had an electrical short which started a fire. Luckily, all the safety features kicked in, and there was no explosion or anything like that. But that's something that they're going to have to look at and what caused it. It's quite spectacular when you saw it on the thing. But also, wasn't there something about SpaceX will be very soon not launching from Boca Chica?
Yes, indeed. And this news came courtesy of the FAA, the Federal Aviation Administration. They have stated that SpaceX are giving up launching Starship from Boca Chica in Texas because they've had no end of problems and launching from there. And they're going to transfer all the launch operations to the Cape pad, the historic 39A pad at Cape Canaveral. And it will take a while for that to happen because there's a lot of construction that needs to be done in Florida before they can establish launches. But the great thing is that the FAA have said their launch cadence will be 44 launches a year for the Starship. That's what SpaceX have applied for anyway, which is one a month basically. One a month. What am I talking about? 4 a month. So every few weeks they plan to launch Starship, and it's all very exciting. Now, in preparation for that, the FAA are going to do a full environmental assessment of the environmental impacts of the Starship launching from Cape Canaveral. SpaceX already have environmental approval for launches from the Cape, but the nature of the Starship program has developed so rapidly that the FAA think that they need to revisit it and do a full environmental assessment. So that's good news. They will be using.
I think Kev's booking his. Oh no, that's the wrong one. Sorry. I think Kev's booking his ticket.
Yes, you're quite right, and I probably will if that's the case. The thing is that the whole environmental thing is, as I said, forcing this new environmental study to make sure. Boca Chica then will be used for assembly of the Starships, because the new rocket factory at Boca Chica is nearly complete. The production line will start up before too long. They hope to churn out one Starship a week with this new production line, and means they're going to be building a lot of Starships. Why are they building so many Starships? Because Elon Musk wants to send 1,000 of them to Mars to build a city on Mars. As to when that'll happen, well, it depends whether you use normal human time or Elon time. But don't forget that there's only an opportunity to launch to Mars really once every 2 years. So that, is going to happen. I would think the latest that could happen will be 2030, because before that, SpaceX have got to concentrate on landing people on the moon, of course, with the lunar variant of Starship. So that will be fantastic. All right, then, moving on. We're going back to Daz. And have you got your other thing set up, Daz?
It's the same one. If you just
it. All right, then. So let's just put that back up.
Right. So, of course, this is where I finished.
Yeah.
Now, one of the questions I think maybe Ian or somebody else popped up last week when we were talking about the sun again and about Aurora, we were talking about the KP index, which is what they use to actually give us our warnings. So, if you just bear with me a second, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pop back to this here. Now, this is, like as I said, this is the actual warnings we get, alerts that we get on our phones or our electrical devices, telling us that something's happening. And this is actually measuring what they call the KP index. Now, what is the KP index? I hear you asking. Right. So just bear with me. Hang about. That's to do this. Does anyone know what this is? I will tell you in a little while, but does anyone actually know what that is? I'll tell you.
Is it Beethoven's Fourth Symphony in E minor?
Not the fourth. Anyway,
fifth? No, it's not the fifth. Second symphony.
So anyway, what is the KP index? Well, for most people in the UK, it will be associated with a tasty range of salted snacks. However, in Northern Lights hunting circles, the initials have a completely different and yet vital and important significance. The KP index is derived from the German Planterisch Kennziffer. Now, if I've murdered that, I do apologise.
You did murder it, and it's coughing up blood at the moment. But never mind, guys. Press on.
Meaning planetary index. It is a measure of the geomagnetic activity in the Earth's atmosphere. Now, as we know, the Earth's magnetic activity in the atmosphere is being measured all the time using geomagnetic. No, forget it. It's being measured anyway. We're keeping an eye on it. So, of course, if anything actually happens or anything comes along that actually interferes with that magnetosphere, then we will know about it. Now, that is measured in what we call, like I say, the KP index. The more it's messed around with, the more we'll actually know that there's something going on. And if we tie it with what we've seen on the sun 2 or 3 days before, it'll give us even 8 minutes before, actually, if it's a flare, then we'll know that there's something on its way. The KB index does just what that by utilizing a scale of 0 to 9, where 9 represents a hugely significant geomagnetic storm. However, such storms are very rare indeed, approximately one every 3 years. And historical records point to KP 1, 2, and to a lesser extent 3 being far away the most frequent levels. Well, yes, that is actually true, and we will have a look at that bit later on. So here we are. This is actually the KP scale range. As you can see, once you get to KP5, you're looking at storms. You're looking at geomagnetic storms. So as I said, 1, 2, 3. You can even have there is even a 0. Up to 4, things are beginning to get a bit shaky. But then once you get to 5, 6, 7, you know you're into storm territory. 5 being minor, all the way up to 9, which is extreme storm. So this is what we're looking at. This frequency is 900 days per solar cycle. Now, a solar cycle is 11 years. So you're expecting that over those 11 years, you're going to have 900 days where you're possibly going to have minor storm conditions, or if it's KP9, which is extreme storm, you'll probably get 4, possibly up to 4 days in 11 years. So that's what that's looking at. So that's actually your scale and what it's actually, how it fits in. Right, in I think I might have these around the wrong way, sorry. But in North America, because the auroral oval is centered around the magnetic rather than the polar north, the aurora borealis can be seen at lower latitudes, assuming that you were outside of the city in a clear night. So KP5, you'll see it Seattle, Toronto, KP7, Denver and Nashville. Then you got Texas and North America for a KP9. It says it, but it's more important to remember that northern lights appear most frequently at higher latitudes. This is because KP1, 2, and to a lesser extent 3 are by far the most common of these magnetic activities. This restricts regular aurora displays to an area around and just above the Arctic Circle. And this is why when you go on these trips, aurora trips, then you have to go towards the at least the Arctic Circle, if not beyond, just to see the northern lights. So just next. Oh no, that's Europe, isn't it? So I just got to click forward. So that's the American, what you would see, and as you can see, all the levels of the levels have been put on here, and then you get to KP 6 or 9 at the bottom there, and you will see that it's very, very low down, but with cameras it'll be far, far lower down into sort of like Mexico and things like that. You're going to be looking at it. So but of course these are geomagnetic storms are measured by G numbers. So a G5 is a KP 9, and that will bring it down where you'll see very good aurora. As you can see, I'm not very good on geography of the United States, but you will see that far lesser, because they were even seen down as far as Texas using cameras and things like that. So that was the northern the Americas. Got to come back now. So I've got to do this backwards, haven't I? So in Europe, is this a European one? Yeah. Geographic impacts of the KP index. Dark obstructed northern skies. So most auroras appear up at 66 degrees north and above in the higher latitudes in northern Europe.
Until last Friday.
Sorry?
Until last Friday.
Yeah, until last Friday. But this is when you're talking about KP2s and 1s, 2s, and 3s. The most frequent KP levels are, as it says there, between 0 and 3. and means that auroras appear in those areas more frequently than anything else. For the northern lights to be visible further south, much higher magnetic activity is required, and this occurs less frequently. For residents of the UK and Europe, a rough rule of thumb might be KP5 is northern Scotland, southern Scandinavia, KP7 North England, northern Germany, and KP9 is southern England, central France. Now, I think that is underestimating things, because I know probably with a KP sort of like 4, you will then get into the Scotland, depending upon the configuration of the actual storm itself, and the actual strength of the storm. So I apologize for mixing up those slides. I did try and do this in a hurry. So there we go. Right, I asked you what this is,
Sounds
and
like
Andy was almost was close when he said it looks like music. This is Bartel's music diagram. And what it actually is, this is for 2023. This is the KP levels for the whole year. So, but you're wondering why, hang about, why does January start in the 10th? The reason being is that what we're not actually, these are days of the rotation. And of course, we know the sun rotates in just under 28 days. So we're down to 27 days. So when January the 1st came along, we were on the 10th rotation of that sequence of that month. So that's why it starts in there. But as you can see, you've got all your KP levels all marked, and they basically look like a musical score, as Andy says. Now, these black parts are your solar storms. And as you can see, you can sometimes have very high KP levels, but no solar storms.
Yeah.
Because as we know, we've got to have several things that are going to happen. One is they can be solar flares. Two, if they're associated with a CME, which will give you your will throw all the matter out into space. It'll become an ICME, then an interplanetary coronal mass ejection. And you've also got to make sure that the magnetism inside that solar storm is correct, and you've got coronal holes. So all of these things will make a difference. So these high ones were probably created by coronal holes rather than actually flares or mass ejections. If you've got some big coronal holes facing you, you will still get these high KP indexes. So anyway, let's just have a look at now. This is for 2024. As you can see, it's been very, very, very quiet. We've had some high KP index readings, but with very few solar storms. It's only been in the last February, very few in March, and of course then we come into April. And then we come into May right at the very end here, and this part at the end is the storms we had last weekend, and there is a key down in the bottom here. So let's just zoom in on what we had. As I said, this is started on the 10th. It rose up, as you can see, it was up and down, and it carried on for nearly 2 days. Then it quietened down. Although we didn't actually I think we dropped into the green just a couple of occasions. And then we had another peak on the nights of the 10th, 11th, 12th, 12th and 13th. So we've had another peak, and now we're running along. And we are expecting possibly something to happen tonight from events that have happened since. And of course, if we've just had mind you did. Sorry, I did mean to mention Kev has found out that the 8.8 flare has been confirmed, but it was 3664, which of course means it will be off virtually directed off the limb. So this is what this is. This is now with this. If we've got time, I'll do it a little bit later because I've got it actually all set up. You can go back, I think it's to about 1932. Plus, they've also in here, they've got records that go back even for, but you can trace what has happened geomagnetic storm wise and KP wise all the way back, all those separate years. You can choose them and go back to them. Now, we were talking about colors. This appeared a lot over the weekend, and it shows you basically what the colors mean. Red is oxygen at high altitudes. Green is excited atomic oxygen at lower altitudes. Sorry, and then the blue and the even lighter blue is ionized molecular nitrogen, and it tells you it's sort of like what the heights this is all happening. So the lower it is, and the more powerful it is. So the first thing I saw was actually green.
Right.
So it's actually green. So I just saw a message just pop up, but then we all got into the pinks. The pink was absolutely gorgeous colors, greens, and as I said, some of you even were able to catch this mauve color, which was absolutely beautiful. So we had a really exciting time. There could be times to come, as I said. That last picture I showed you in the previous section, there's a lot still coming around, and as I said the other week, the reason we're possibly entering into a second peak, we're going to have a double peak like most of the past cycles have been. So we could be expecting a few days. So keep your eyes on your alerts.
Thank you.
If you don't believe me, go onto YouTube, look for Tamitha Skov, Dr. Tamitha Skov, the space weather woman, and she is a space weather expert. She does an excellent every week she comes on, she does an excellent show explaining what's happened, but she also has done loads of mini courses. Now I think she's got to reassess her word mini, because they last 3 or 4 hours. But what the reason for that is because she does usually one a month on one subject or another, but she delves really deep into it. But what she does is you're expected to do sort of like a bit at a time, and it's all split up. And what she does is in between certain sections, she'll do a question and answer. But she is absolutely fantastic. I recommend her every time. And this is where I've learned most of what I know about, and I haven't even scratched the surface. Right. So I think that's basically it. I think I would just finish. Sorry. Yes, I was just saying. So what I did see is that raised its ugly head again, because we haven't had one of these, as Andy said, for over 20 odd years, is that the press went mad on Tinternet, on everywhere. People were all scaremongering. And a lot of this is due to lack of knowledge, or just pure vindictiveness. You were getting sort of like Carrington like mega flares. Well, no, they're not. They're not kill shots. They're not micronova. It's not Armageddon. It's not power grid killers. It's not going to burn down all the buildings. This about the weakening magnetic field. There is something to that, but we've survived this time and time again, weakening magnetic fields. The most interesting thing is because with the South Atlantic anomaly, magnetic anomaly, is that we could be the jury's out whether or not we're going to have our poles swap, which has happened in the past. Don't worry,
it's the magnetic poles, not the actual poles.
Yeah, the magnetic pole. Sorry, the magnetic pole. So basically, all you've got to do is turn your compass round, and so you north will be pointing south, if you know what I mean.
Can I just say something about that while we're on the subject? This shock horror scare story about the magnetic poles flipping that comes up in the press quite regularly. Once the poles start to flip, it can take thousands of years for it to actually go complete. So it's not a flip as such, it's a gradual transition.
It's a gradual transition. But they also...
Eric's quite right. It it's done out of ignorance, vindictiveness, but more often than not, it's to sell
Sells papers.
columns.
Yeah,
It's to sell
it's
them.
clickbait. It's clickbait. A lot of it.
Yeah, it's clickbait.
But unfortunately, some people do worry about these things, and like I said, it's down to lack of education of
Yeah.
what this is going on. And of course, like I've said before, even the experts don't know everything.
No.
So this is really a new, because it's only since the 70s that we really beginning to be able to get a grip with this.
Yeah.
And this is, so basically what you're hearing, like the radiation will be lethal to all on Earth, rubbish.
Oh, God.
We've experienced far, far stronger geomagnetic storms, and we've walked away with it.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. So we're not going to end up with burning houses, melted transform. Well, we could end up with melted transformers, but now we know what we're looking for. We're
Yeah.
not going to go into the dark ages, and I'm surprised they can forward all those candles, and the power lines aren't going to burst into flames. But there are things we do need to be a little bit concerned about. But then there are things we can mitigate for. Radio blackouts, we talked about those. Emergency services with radios and drones and with GPS. Satellite internet outages, that's when we get some really big flares.
Yeah.
But these things, we're building defense systems into these things, and basically just switching them off will save them. Satellite cell phone communications, LEO satellites. The only thing is we got to be we can switch things off, and a lot of them have had protection added to them to protect them from severe radiation. But there is a thing called atmosphere expansion, which means the atmosphere actually expands because of all the messing about of the magnetic field heats up the atmosphere, it expands slightly, and it could drag some of these satellites or slow them down, that they could actually deorbit. So medical services can be affected. Aviation again is that's my next one. Aviation could be affected with their transponders, and also lethal not lethal, but some severe radiation doses. Power network outages. Well, there's contingency plans to sort that out. We talked about that last week, I do believe. And colonization in space and tourism. You've got to be very, very careful. So, how do we go about predicting and learning about what's actually happening and what the sun's doing? Well, we've got a whole series of satellites, probes, and everything that are looking at the sun. I mean, even the Voyagers, they're doing heliophysics. They've gone out into space. They're actually now doing interplanetary investigations for us. They're still working, and we've spoken about them loads of times. You can see all these satellites. SOHO's the grandfather of them all. That was launched in 1995, I do believe, and it's literally running on blue tack and Baylor twine. It's a wonderful device. It's still working. The team have worked endlessly to keep it going. Stereo, we've only got one stereo that we can get reliable information from these days. The SDO, the Solar Dynamic observation platform, that's another one. And this is where we get then. If you see, these are all sat at the Lagrange point 1, so they are between us and the Earth. So these are the things that are going to tell us what's actually coming towards us. They'll be the first to know. Now, I'm not sure whether the solar orbiter actually does real-time data drops while it's actually doing its outward and backward, inward orbits, because I know when it goes behind the sun and it dives through, it only can do a data dump when it comes back around to this side. So these are the things that are helping us to predict and to learn more and more about what the sun is doing. And the more we learn about it, the more we will be able to predict and forewarn people that these things are coming. Now, remember, when I've said in the past, we've spoken about solar flares, everyone is different. And some of them can travel to these geometric storms, can travel to us within a matter of hours. We won't get days. So we need to get good at this so that we can prepare for anything that is very major that's coming towards us. And remember, our benchmark is the Carrington event from was it 1859 or 69 or something like that. So that's what I'd just like to say. And I've got one last thing. That's my image of the Aurora.
Oh, beautiful, Daz.
It was actually a GIF, but it won't work on here because I put it in wrong. But you can see the curtains, and when you play the GIF, you can actually see the curtains moving. As you can see, I've got a bit of light pollution. I'm actually looking into a light dome there from Oswestry and Wrexham and all that, and up the A5. So to actually be able to catch that with so much light pollution was brilliant. So there you go, and I hope that's a bit more informative for you. Don't worry about all the scaremonger stories you hear.
Right.
And more power to your elbow.
Yeah.
Great.
So there you go.
Thank you, Daz. That's fantastic. Well, listen, I think Michael and Roger, we deserve to give Daz a round of applause for all that information. So well done, Daz. Thank you. That was absolutely wonderful, and we hope that you enjoyed that, viewers. A sort of our in-depth look at what happened last Friday night, basically.
Yeah.
And of course, who knows what's in store in the future? It's very difficult to predict.
Keep listening to those alerts because I don't think we're finished quite yet.
No. Just one thing, Daz. Just let me scroll back up here. I can't find it now. Oh, hang on. It's down here somewhere. Just give me 1 second. Kenneth's got a question for you. He says, I'm at 60 degrees and I've had beautiful nights with as low as KP 2.33 and huge negative BZ values. Saturday were KP 7.33 with positive BZ levels and nothing visible, and he's hoping you can explain that.
Right, you're talking about BZ levels, and which I'm not really a fan about.
There we are then.
Whereabouts is Kenneth actually?
In Norway.
In
Norway.
Oh, right.
He's in Norway.
Oh.
I really don't understand. It's either that, or maybe, as I said before, because it's a halo, it had gone past you. Remember when people were saying that they looked north and they couldn't see anything, but until they turned around and looked south. That's the only thing I can think of. I can't understand why why you do that unless it went beyond. But then again, I'm sure I've seen lots of images from the Arctic Circle. I mean, I could be wrong.
Yeah.
But I'll see if I can find out why that could be. But I thought even in the Arctic Circle they had some good displays. I will go back and I'll see if I can find out. So I'll see if I'll find out for you, Kenneth.
There we are. We'll report back next week. Daz has got his homework for the week. So there we are.
And I've got to find out more about this 8.8.
Yes, indeed.
There was something else about somebody said there's been a 7.2. That's the wrong one. Looking at the wrong one. A 7.2 flare or something. Just flipping down. I can see that that's Kenneth's. I do apologise. We'll just bear with us. I'm just trying to find this. Kev was saying it was a speculating. I'll let you read it.
Yes.
With Sig Scotland.
Yeah. Well, the force from those 33 Raptors is quite considerable. So yes, it could well happen. Okay. While Daz is looking for that, it's I think time to wrap up for the evening. So thank you all very much for being with us on this Tuesday evening. We do appreciate your support. Don't forget, we've got plenty of other videos available on the Space Oddities channel for you to have a look at. So it's not just the live stream. We've got literally hundreds of videos on the channel. So do go and have a look. I'm sure you'll find something that you like. And we will, of course, be back at the same time next week. Keep your eye on the channel and get to find out what we're going to bring you next week. Because as I was saying earlier, it's another week and it's another load of space news. So all sorts of things coming up over the next couple of months. We've got the Polaris Dawn launch. We've got the first launch of the Sierra Dream Chaser. That's coming up. Michael, any news on when that's going to be?
No, I haven't actually.
Yeah. They keep saying, again, it's all clickbait. You keep saying, the date's been set for this, a date's been set for that. But then they just go to, the last quarter of 2024. So that's not setting a date.
No, that's right. So the Dream Chaser is a revolutionary new space plane from Sierra that is hopefully going to be docking with the International Space Station, but doing a lot of other things because it has a cargo component. And the first flights will not be carrying humans, but the later ones will. So that's obviously a spacecraft with a great future, I hope. Yeah. We've also got, of course, as I mentioned earlier, the launch of Starship coming up. We've got the landing of the Chinese Chang'e 6 on the moon. Not sure we'll be able to carry that live. Just refresh my memory. The Chinese don't tend to. Do they broadcast the landings live?
Not sure. I think they broadcast the last one live, did they?
Okay.
Or am I getting mixed up with the Japanese?
Yeah, that's what I was just thinking. Was it the Japanese or was it the Chinese?
I remember seeing some video from the Chinese, but whether that was later after they.
But of course, this is a mission. This is a sample return mission as well.
It is.
True. Yeah.
So that it's the total length of the mission is 53 days. The Chinese have not announced when the landing is going to be. We know that the spacecraft successfully made it to lunar orbit, but we don't know. Could be any time, I guess.
Yeah, it took the quick route, didn't it? This one.
Yeah. Also, India are gearing up for the launch of Chandrayaan-4, the next of their successful series of moon expeditions. So we will keep you posted on that. So there's a lot coming up over the next few months. Oh, not to mention, of course, as I was saying to Ian earlier, the first launch from Saxavor, the Scottish spaceport, by the German company Rocket Factory. And that's now scheduled, I think, for later in the summer, maybe early autumn. So it'll be fantastic to see that spaceport in Shetland inaugurated with a commercial flight. And we look forward to that. And of course,
I wonder if they're going to have a viewing area where people can watch this. I mean, it'll be completely different from Florida, where people in shorts and t-shirt, and then people all huddled up in Scotland like penguins in Arctic gear.
Well,
waiting for a launch.
Well, Ian McIntyre in the chat, we've been saying he's in Inverness and he's sort of volunteered to be our roving reporter.
Exactly, that's what I thought. Open house.
Ooh.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Get the coach.
The
coach.
I'll get the train.
Yeah,
yeah.
It'd be great to have somebody
all
for the first launch. It really would. We'll keep you posted on when that might be as soon as we get the date confirmed.
He says he'd love to be there anyway.
Yeah. Anyway, thank you to Roger for staying on that marathon gallery of mainly
those pictures were fantastic.
Yeah, mainly
Beautiful.
Aurora images. Thank you so much for the Aurora images; they were absolutely fantastic. So anyway, thank you for your contributions. Thank you for your coffees, much appreciated. Have a fantastic week. Stay safe, be good, and if you can't be good, be average, as I always say. And we will see you back here next Tuesday for another live stream from Space Oddities. Until then, thanks for your support.
Oh, hang on a bit. Are we going to when is the Starliner? I think did you mention the Starliner? Sorry.
Oh no, I didn't. Well, it's they said no earlier than the 17th, which is
so we're just
Friday.
My pencil's getting blunt. Keep putting all these.
Sorry, just a final one. The launch of the Boeing Starliner is sort of scheduled for this Friday, but yet to be confirmed after they've replaced the thing,
the dodgy valve in the center.
The dodgy valve. So there we are. On the Centaur, we have to say, not on the Starliner. On the Centaur stage. There we are. Yeah. All right, there, and that will take Centaur stage hopefully on Friday.
Oh dear!
I think it's time to go, don't you?
Roger, reach across and strangle it.
Yes, mercy, please.
Is he on